This is Joy Paris with RichGirlNetwork.tv. We're here to talk to Charles Gitnick, an 11-year-old artist that's making quite a name for himself in the art world. Charles got a really unique way of showing us that guns could have another look. Sit back and enjoy my conversation with Charles. This is so exciting to be able to sit and talk with young artist Charles Gitnick. And Charles, tell everybody how old you are.
I'm 11.
Your artwork is so unique and so interesting, mixing guns with this background. So before we even get started, tell me where this whole passion for art started and at what age?
Well, I've been doing art since I was like 5. I was just like using markers just like any other kid, just like scribbling on a paper. But I would do it like every single day. I'd go to my brother's basketball games and I would be bored, so I'd bring like my notepad and my markers and just start like scribbling. And then my parents started noticing that it was like so much. So then my dad started like helping me like learn about other artists. And then since there was all this violence going on in the world, I started doing the guns.
Now you said your dad started talking to you about artists and teaching you about artists. What artists were some of the ones that you first encountered that you fell in love with?
Like Basquiat, Jackson Pollock, Andy Warhol.
Andy Warhol is cool. He's like one of my favorite ones too. Tell me about the first piece you created and give me the process with that.
I took like, since violence goes into newspapers, I took newspaper and I wrapped the background and the gun into newspaper and mounted it together. So it's like a 3D gun wrapped in basically violence, since violence goes into newspaper, it kind of goes together since guns and newspaper.
That makes sense. Now you said that you went through the newspaper. Did you look? How long did it take you to go through the paper and look at which ones you wanted to use?
Well, I would just go through one day's edition of paper and find all the violent things about it, and it was a lot. I was very surprised. It was a lot. I was very surprised. Yeah.
See, that's the reason I don't read the newspaper. No, I'm kidding, because there's so much stuff in there. What were you thinking when you read that? When you saw that violence, what was your personal feeling?
That guns are just really bad for people. They're sometimes good during self-defense, but for crazy people to go into a school and start shooting random people just is crazy. Yeah.
I'm so impressed. I know we talked earlier and you mentioned that your dad mentioned you also show it in Soho with the street vendors. First tell me how that happened and what was that experience like?
So we went to New York just for vacation, and we were walking on the street and we saw all these street vendors selling for super high prices. So I got like really excited about it, and I told my dad that we wanted to do that. So a couple months later, we've just been planning, and finally we got to go. So then you're not allowed to bring guns, so they have to be ready-made in LA, and then we put them in the luggage and take them to New York. So it's really hard, like schlepping it all the way from LA. And then finally you get out on the street and you're just selling, and it was really popular. I sold, I think like 14 pieces in like a couple days.
Earlier, your dad told me about the challenges of being in Soho and on the street. So let's get the personal part of that, how cold it was and all those things.
It was during the cold, and it was super, super cold. So it was really hard. And like these pieces I worked so hard on, and then to have just the wind just knock them over and break them was like so hard. But I went through it, and yeah.
You survived the hardships of an artist on the streets of New York and Soho. I love that story. When you get the gun and the pieces start in your head, what happens?
Well, I take the background and I mount the gun onto the background. Then after that, I choose the technique that I'm gonna do: the spray, the Jackson Pollock, or the drip. And then after that, after I've chosen the technique, then I'll choose colors. I usually do really, really vibrant colors to like show happiness. So after that, then I do whatever technique, and then it dries, and then it goes to the framer and gets framed, and then it goes wherever it needs to go. Like if it's a commission, then it gets shipped out, or if it's going to like a place like this where we're selling, then then it gets packed in to come here.